Madam Chair, the 9/11 Commission report, which I talk about often, usually carry it with me to Homeland security meetings, that report and those recommendations, the Congress, they made it very clear. And by the way, Congress passed those recommendations and the President signed them. And I think we've ignored a lot of those recommendations that were in there. But it made it very clear that terrorists want two things. They want to enter the United States, and they want to be able to remain there until they carry out their mission. And they're not going to hesitate to take advantage of any distinct weaknesses that we have in our immigration system to get here, which is why I've always called for a full implementation of the biometric entry and exit, which was a recommendation in that report, so that we know not only who came into the country, but we know whether or not they've left or not. This committee in Homeland, we've heard from national security experts who have testified that we have no ability to screen individuals in Syria. We have no credible partners. There's no system in place to gather credible evidence. We also have to look into fixing our visa waiver program. There's 38 countries that are members of the visa waiver program. Citizens of those 38 countries can visit for up to 90 days. They don't have to obtain a visa. They don't have to undergo an in-person interview. Again, remembering that terrorists want to enter and then they want to be able to stay. Couple this with the visa overstay situation, I see that we have a real problem. Nearly 50% of people who are in the country illegally, they didn't cross a border illegally, they come on a visa and disappear. We can't find them. The Islamic State has promised to attack us. They said American blood is the best blood and that they will taste it soon. I believe them. So given that we don't know who they are, we can't screen them properly, we know that one of the Paris attackers came in as a refugee, so we believe, and that the President is insisting on admitting 10,000 more Syrian refugees. I'd like each of you to answer, how can we be assured and assure the American people that there won't be ISIS fighters hidden among the refugees coming into this country? How do we separate salt from sugar? I understand the refugee program is a great program to bring people here, but how do we separate the salt from the sugar, and how do we reassure the American people without a screening process in place in Syria? General Keane?
Well, I think Director Olson gave us the best explanation of that entire process. You may not have been here for that, but he took us through what that is, and an 18-month process of screening, which gives you, I think, reasonable assurances that someone is not here for the wrong reason, but doesn't give you perfect assurances, and that I think is likely impossible.
Excuse me, but isn't it different in Syria than it is in other? Where are the records? Assad's not going to share any information with us. So the screening process in Syria, I wasn't here for that, so maybe you can enlighten me. Would the process be the same in Syria as it is somewhere else when we don't have a credible system in place, we don't have a partner in place to share information? Where would we be getting the records from?
Yes, well, the process is the same. In fact, the process has been augmented since the last several years, and we learned a lot from the process of vetting Iraqi refugees. So the process now does include all the database checks from the intelligence community, the FBI, the Department of Defense. It includes interviews, actual in-person interviews. It includes the collection of biometric
Nobody's going to admit in an interview that they're associated with ISIS, so that's not credible.
Some of the, from what I've seen, some of the really the best trained State Department and Homeland Security professionals are involved exactly in this program. So they are trained to really make a discerning judgment about somebody based on the answers they give. As General Keane said, certainly somebody who's got no background, no records, no documentation.
But if they've committed a crime there in Syria, where would we get the records from?
Yeah, so there is the one. I mean, obviously, you do raise a point about the challenge of underlying information. So there isn't as much information, for example, about someone seeking refugee status out of Syria than from many other countries.
So it's much risky. It's much more. There's much more risk because we've had 4 national security experts, 2 from the FBI, tell us that we don't have a system in place there. It's very difficult to get information, records, and to really know who these people are. So my question goes back to, how do you separate the salt from the sugar? I don't doubt that many of the people that we're going to let in are going to be good people, but I'm worried about the salt part.
Yeah, well, the way you do that is through a very rigorous process, the process
But
that
if the
I
process
laid
is
out.
flawed,
Well,
how
it's
do
not-
we assure the American people that they don't have to worry?
You know, I think as General Keane said, and as I said earlier, I think there's no process that's going to be 100% guaranteed. So there's always going to be some degree of risk. What you want to do is adopt a process that mitigates that risk to the extent that's practicable. And again, it's an area, obviously, of
I think
appropriate oversight.
until we fix that process there, I think the American people right now aren't comfortable. They're not comfortable with hearing, well, we're pretty good, but we don't have all the information. We're asking them to trust us that we're not going to see here in America what they saw in Paris. And quite honestly, I don't feel good myself. Thank you.
I thank the gentleman. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania.